Welcome back, Grade 6, to Nelson Math, Chapter 11, Section 8, Creating Cube Structures from Different Views. Here we have three different views of the same cube structure. We made the cube structure with all of these different cubes, and we're going to use these faces. I have the actual cube structure made behind this blue rectangle, but I'll reveal that in just a moment or two after we come up with what these different views actually signify. So this is our top view. This top view means we are looking straight down at a cube structure. And there's one thing, or there are two things really, that we could look at here. One would be these two squares on the left are at a different depth than these two squares on the right. So two of these squares are higher than the other two of these squares. And we know that because of this solid, thick black line that's from the top. When we look at this in conjunction with this one, we can now decide, or we can ascertain that it's this column here that's higher. That means of these four squares, which is the different thing that we'd be able to realize, the second thing, these two squares are higher than these two squares. And we know there's a height differential of 2. So we can make that conclusion right there. So this would be looking from the front as it's labeled here. Lastly, we have a side view too. Just by looking at these two, we don't know necessarily how deep it goes because we can only see the top and we see from the front. But from the side, this would be if you're looking at it from the left or the right. And in this cube structure, we know for sure it's from the right because this solid black line tells us there is a difference in depth from these 4 cubes from these 6 cubes. That must correspond to this difference in depth right here. These 2 are at a different depth than these 3. So this height of 2 and this height of 2 correspond to the same cube. So now I'm going to show it to you and see how I constructed that. And it's right here. Here you see a 3D structure made with these cubes. And let's see if they all fit. Let's start with the front one because that has all the same depth. From this picture, I know that they all have the same depth. And these squares that I'm outlining right now, these squares are all at the same depth. The square faces on these cubes all have identical depth, just like this one. And because on the left, on this side here, there are 5, and this side here, there are 3, this perfectly matches up. It's important to realize, however, that you do have to make these cube structures and you may have to take them apart. That is completely okay. Some trial and error is absolutely welcome for this because you may not be able to see all the sides at once. You may have to kind of piece them together a bit at a time. Let's go now to this side view right here. That would be looking at it from right here, looking at it from this side. So from this side, I see that there is this change in depth right here. So above this change in depth, I see there is a 2 by 2 array and a 3 by 2 array at the bottom. And I can see this 2 by 2 right here. Here's the 2 by 2 array. Here's the 3 by 2 array, which is right there. So the side is correct. And now let's look at the top. This solid black line tells me there is a difference in depth from this side compared to this side. So if I'm looking at it from the top, and that's looking at it from right here, I can see that this side is this side, so they have a difference in depth. These two correspond here. These two correspond here. And yes, in fact, they have a difference in depth. Once again, grade 6, I am strongly encouraging you to please build this, to always go back and to compare the different sets of faces and views so that you can verify step by step. That is completely okay. If you notice that one of your faces after you think you've finished building it, if one of your faces doesn't appear to be just right, you are allowed to change it. Thanks, everyone. Have a good day.